3, 2, 1, go. All right, let's do some coloring right in Nomad Sculpt. This is 1.76. So a lot of people will bring their sculpts to other applications, but I like to color right in Nomad, mostly because this is the only app I use. Right now I have it colored this sort of nice brown that's sort of similar to the Met cap, but I kind of like it like this, but let's just add some color and I'll just show you my process. So I'm just going to show you my process of adding color to this little doodle sculpt I made. So first, let's just change everything to white. And also you should know that everything is subsurface at 0.0838. So I'd like to do subsurface, but I like to make the depth a little, I like to make it a little denser. So first, let's just take all of this and I'm going to change it to white. I'll make the roughness probably like 0.6, 0.6.5 or so. And just paint everything white. You can see the light is kind of bright. Maybe it'll help if I turn. That doesn't help. Sometimes the color will affect the light, obviously, as you can see, but we'll deal with that as we decide to color it, because I like the lighting, so we'll see. So the first thing, you just use this sphere here, and this is your color. If you tap it, there are some other colors here. If I wanted to make him gold, I could do that. I tend not to use gold that's this kind of shiny. Usually I'll raise the roughness and I feel like it looks a little bit more like gold to me. I'll just raise the roughness a little bit. And let's take a look. So I have mane, I have the fins, the arms, and the antennae. So let's make all those the same color. So this is what he would look like, gold. And of course I might turn I'd probably have to adjust the lights if I was going to make him gold. All right, now while we still have all these selected, let's just figure out a color for his skin. Well, we're still in metalness, as you can see. So we'll turn the metalness down. And we'll paint all. It looks good yellow. I want to painting a lot of my characters yellow for some reason. He does look pretty good in yellow. Let's take a look at some other colors. Green, blue. I feel like he would look nice in like a kind of bubblegum color. You can make him a little darker. He starts to look more like some sort of bug or something. But I think I like the yellow the best. I really love the yellow. Alright, so if we're going to stick with the yellow, then we may have to adjust the lights accordingly. And I did a really simple lighting setup. I just have one main light coming from here, and then I have one light on the other side, this light, which I might actually spin. Let's go to my view. Oh, it still looks pretty good. I really want it to be something like this, I think. That's kind of where I really want it. I'll turn it down a little bit so it's not so bright. And actually, I like this lighting, but I want to add this, and I'll just take some off of it. So I'll just turn the intensity down. And you really have to do this once you get your color, because as you can see, the color affects, or the lighting affects how the color looks. might have to take some off of this to the top down. Okay. So that looks a bit better to me. I'm not sure what color I want this to be. I don't know why it's 158K, but let's decimate it. So because I might want to blend it and do some other things to it. So we'll go ahead and decimate that floor down. And there's a lot of other things we can decimate here as well that will help us color. If you want really tight lines, then you want it to be very dense. For example, like I can blur this really well. So let's say we make this, let's make it that pink color, but we want the bottom to be, let's see, what does it look like if I put, let's say we want the bottom to be a little more, this like sort of candy-ish color. So we'll do select mask. Actually, I think I can do paint circle. So we'll just look at the bottom. We'll paint on a circle like that. Oh, that was weird. Could probably fix that if I did. Let's see. There's usually a spot that says, that makes sure that it doesn't go through to the other side, which I can't find at the moment. Snap radius. Well, anyway, there's a better way to do it anyway. Just take the select mask and rectangle and go like this and mask that part off. And then we'll just paint the bottom part and clear the mask. That's the smarter way to do it anyway. So let's take smooth color, which is just the smooth with 0 intensity. You can clone this and then you can save it, and that's just smooth color. I'll turn symmetry on. And we can probably take, I'll turn this on too, that way everything should be symmetrical, and just the less amount of times I have to smooth this. Okay, so something like that. So it smooths really nicely because this is very low. So if I was trying to smooth it on here, which is 615K, it'd be a little bit harder. So what you might want to do is, earlier when you're working on your character, if you know the colors or if you think you know the colors, you can do that earlier when your clay is softer or less dense. But there are tricks that you can do. Like it'll still, if I take paint, and here we have, I made a new layer. I'll just make one. Oops. Let's bring that down. Actually, you know what? Let's leave it. I kind of like this, the old color, so I'm going to leave it because I might export with the old color as well. But you can add a new layer, and let's say we wanted to and we painted a little dot here. Let me turn off dynamic topology. I was working with this earlier. So if I go in close, it's not too bad. It's pretty decent. It's not terrible. And if I go to the smooth color, it smooths okay, actually. So smooth's pretty good. But I was experimenting with, you can use dynamic topology. You can enable it, make sure that it's on. And then I was experimenting with these, and I found that with these, let's see if we can get it to smooth a little bit more if we use constant. I'm not exactly sure what these, like what the science is with all of these. That didn't really do much more. Radius, and you can look at the info here. Radius, the tool radius defines the amount of detail. So let's see if I make it bigger. Let's see if it smooths more. It does smooth out a lot more. So that's kind of nice to know. But the only problem is you have to be careful around details, because I think if even if I do that around the detail, it'll smooth out the detail. So just something to keep note of. But I just thought it was interesting to experiment with dynamic topology to try to figure out ways to get it very smooth and a nice blend with a high res model. Okay, so we like this yellow color. Let's take the tongue, and I usually make this a nice pink, but more on the reddish side. And maybe I'll take the roughness down a smidge, something like that. For the teeth, okay, maybe I might adjust them a little bit. Maybe make them a little less dense with subsurface. And a lot of times I will adjust them just a little bit so they're not bright white. I'll just move it off just a smidge. I just find that to be a little bit more realistic, and I'll bring the roughness down just so we can see a little pop of light on them. For the eyelashes, we want to go closer into black, and I don't want any, I want lots of roughness because I don't want light shining on those. And I probably don't even need them to be subsurface. So let's change it to opaque, and you see the difference between subsurface and opaque. It's a lot different. So let's go back and adjust the color. Usually I would do black, but we might not need it that dark. So we'll just kind of keep it this dark color. And here for the eyes, we just have spheres, and then for the pupils, we have spheres. For the eye, of course, I just flatten the front so I can make this pupil kind of protrude. And this one, we will paint white. We'll give it some gloss. Let's see how it looks as subsurface. It looks okay. And then for the pupils, we can figure out what color we want this character's eyes. Which is always fun. You can go with a darker color, or we could even just change the whole color. It's kind of cool. And now that we have that blue, it might be nice to incorporate that a little bit in other places around the skin. I do feel like he looks a bit shiny. That's one thing that I don't really like that much, is when the skin is very shiny and plasticky. It's not too bad, but I just want to adjust it maybe a little bit. Fins, arms, I think that's everything. So we'll go to color, we'll grab this, and maybe we'll bring the roughness up just a little bit. Okay, I think it looks pretty good. So there's a few other details that I do when I'm painting. It might be nice to change the color of these too, though. Maybe it's kind of fun. He sort of reminds me of a mix between Oogie Boogie, I think that's his name, and the little caterpillar from Bug's Life, I think it was. I don't know if I want... And maybe we'll add some yellow to it. So maybe we'll add some yellow. And this is actually really huge, so let's decimate it. Okay, still looks perfectly fine, and it should smooth a lot better than it would have. So we'll give it a nice blended gradient. But I just want to make sure that the bottom is yellow. And even one step beyond that, change it so that the bottom is actually a little bit darker yellow. And this goes back to the video I did with the fake shadows. We want to make sure that we smooth this out. I'll bring it a little bit smaller. And we can smooth out so it's a little bit darker going into the skin. And this is the same thing that I would do for some of the other details, like the arms. The arms are very big too. Let's see how it smooths. Oh, it actually smooths not too bad. The only thing that I might do is it's better to put it on a different layer. That way you can lower the opacity of the layer instead of the whole arm. I guess I'll show you. It's the whole point of this, huh? So firstly, let's just decimate the arm. It doesn't need to be that big. So we'll go to decimate. Okay, still too big, but that's better. So we'll add a new layer and we'll just name it darker. And then I'll take paint, and then you want to paint that darker color on this layer. So we decimated it, so it should smooth a lot better, or it should blend a lot better, I should say. So that's a great blend. Looks nice and natural. Sometimes you might want to go a little bit darker in certain areas. Points of contact, I always make a little darker. So something like that. And if it feels a little dark, you obviously can erase it, but you can also just take the layer and you can lower the layer a little bit as well. So it'll look a little bit more natural, but still be there. And it's subtle, but little details like that go a long way. Let's do some in the eyes as well. I'm going to bring this down, then make a new layer and name it darker. Okay, I'm going to turn symmetry on. This is 615K. I do have to remember that. So you can do something like that, and then we can smooth it. And we might be able to, let's decimate. We'll just keep an eye on the details. Still looks fine. Still looks fine. Still looks pretty good. I saw a little bit of deviation there, but I think all in all, it still looks really good. So now we'll do smooth color. We'll smooth this out some. We don't have to worry about the details because this is just the smooth tool with no intensity. So something like that just kind of colors in his eyes a little bit. And you can also erase. You can take erase. Maybe we want to erase some from this part of the eyes. Because this part of the eyes does get some light. Something like that, and then we can go ahead and smooth again, just to make sure everything is nice and blended. Okay, looks pretty good. So now that I'm not using erase anymore, now is the time where I would add it to any other spots that look like they would be in shadow. Like that part looks like it would be in shadow. Obviously this, underneath this little skin fold, would be a shadow. And I would say around these would be shadow. It really is, like, subtle details really go a long way. Can you raise this up a little bit more? Since we'll probably darken the whole layer, I'm okay to make it a little bit more aggressive now, because it'll just get darkened. Give this some darkness, and then maybe these little skin folds here. Okay, so that gives it that nice detail, and then we'll just use smooth color and just smooth it out and make it look nice and natural. So I'll go a little bit softer in the middle, but the ends I want to make sure are nice and smooth. Okay, looks pretty good. Oh, I forgot to do up here. Make sure this is nice and smooth. And this as well. But hey, I really enjoy doing subtle details like that. I think they're really nice. They really make it. I think I'm gonna erase. This kind of catches my attention. These parts of the eye, so I'm just gonna erase this. Some of it is shadow, but then some of it is just the paint looking kind of crazy. I don't want that, so I'm just gonna erase it. just smooth it. Oh, it's going to get loud in a second. Maybe I'll use a pinch. I'll go to the base. Try to pinch this together a little bit more. Okay. So I think for the fins, I'm going to take this color, make sure symmetry's on. We'll add a new layer. And we'll just kind of give this a little bit of color too. Smooth it out. Looks nice. And maybe we want some spots too, so let's take paint. And we want to get tight spots. So you can bring it down and bring it in and see how this works. Make sure I'm on the body. I'll go to this layer. And they're okay, but you can see they're really hard to make. So that means, so I'm going to use dynamic topology. Let's see here. Let's turn it on. And, you know, I've been messing around with these. So zoom, the level of detail is based on how far you are from the surface. Radius, the tool radius defines the amount of detail. Constant, the detail is fixed. The detail value is shared with the voxel slider as well. I don't really know what that means. So let's try this one. Looks better. Significantly raises the size. So if we do zoom, doesn't look as good, but it's quite a bit smaller. So if we do radius, I think this is the radius, so if I make it bigger, So I'm just thinking like spots like this. Do we want to do anything on his little belly? So the only thing I'm thinking for his belly is I'll use the eyedropper and get this yellow. Maybe make it a little lighter. Turn off dynamic topology. I don't want that on. Let's see what it looks like if I make his belly a little lighter. Kind of like it. Let's see how much we can smooth. Not that much. Again, we might be able to smooth more with, let's see if we're using zoom. Let's see if this smooths anymore. I think I noticed that the other one, maybe constant, will do a better job. think constant gives me a better smooth. It's a bit hard to tell. But ultimately, I think I might like it just yellow. But we'll go to darker and we'll add a little bit of color in the belly button. So we'll grab the color, oops. We'll grab the color here. We'll go a little bit darker. We'll make it a little rougher. And then using dynamic topology, oop, I gotta turn symmetry off. We'll just add a little darkness to make that look a little bit better. Okay. So yeah, I think that's pretty good. Last but not least, the only other thing that I do is take a reddish color. We can turn dynamic topology off. Oh, is this a new layer? I think I added a new layer, right? Didn't I? Turn symmetry on, turn this up, we'll turn the intensity down. Oh, I wonder if I can, if I change the fall off, I wonder how that would affect this. Oh, I'm still on crease. I'm gonna be on paint. Let's clone. So let's see if anything helps this. No, that looks like it would be the best for smoothing. I don't know what this is. Spline. Okay, alpha. Oh no. If I scale this down, what does that look like? Okay, so let's try to add. That's one thing that I wish that we had was a blending brush. That would be just like a brush that was just like an airbrush. Because this works okay, but it's actually not too bad. Add some redness there. Add a little bit here where the nose would be. Doesn't really need that much, but we can always lighten it a little bit. So we'll add some down here too, maybe on the fingers. We'll go back here and then we'll just smooth this out a bit. Hopefully it smooths okay. Oh yeah, this smooths nicely. I forgot we decimated that. So that's actually not bad at all. And then I can lower it a smidge if I want to. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Pretty happy with it. Let's turn the render resolution up. And maybe the environment too a little bit. Feels a little dark. Make this a little more rough. Yeah, as you can see, that's usually how I color my characters. Just trying to use a lot of the tools that are already there, and just using a lot of these tricks like darkening certain areas just to make it look as good as possible. So I'll show you the rendered version in a second. The very last thing that I might do is take the white here of the eye. I'll add a new layer and then just add a fake shadow underneath. So we'll go black, roughness is okay. I'll make it glossy. We'll go regular paint. So we'll just add a fake shadow and then we'll smooth that. Just to give that little touch of a fake shadow there. I think it adds a lot. Alright, keep drawing, keep sculpting. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, give me a like, subscribe if you aren't already, and if you're really serious about the tutorials and the lessons, then check out my Skillshare classes. Just go to drugfreedave.com for more information. Keep drawing, keep sculpting. I'll see you all in the next video.